Hey team, this video just summarizes a bunch of poll plays that we probably want to run in the next few weeks to get ready for Boston Invite and Select Flight Invite. Um, there's a lot of theory crafting that can happen here. This is just kind of the start, so I kind of look forward to kind of feedback from everyone about what they think will work best. So starting with just horizontal stack, basically I have it split up so that each row is a different kind of set, and then each set has like kind of their own little set of plays. So in horizontal stack for now, we'll consider the cutters from left to right to be A, B, C, and D. So one of the sets that we'll definitely run is um, either an A or a D sweep. So basically sweeping from either the far left or the far right. None of these really doesn't really matter what the force is. Here we have set up a forehand force, or forcing this right side. So up on the top we just have what is an A sweep. So basically the leftmost cutter is the kind of the action, but before they can sort of attack this space, the other three cutters all need to push upfield. So that's kind of the first movement, is all three of these cutters moving upfield. And then very shortly after, the A player is cutting over and sweeping over to try to get the disc. And then I think that as a team we should try to figure out who our continuation is off of that, because we should always kind of have a second cut, or a second option afterwards. And then vice versa, the D sweep, it's the same exact thing. A, B, and C push upfield, and D sweeps across to try to get it. And then again, we should try to come up with exactly what we want our continuation to be there. Um, One play that Darkwing ran a lot last year was this diamond initiation, and it's basically instead of doing anything from the outside, we're working a two-person cut setup for the two middle cutters. So in this case, there's red and blue in the B and C positions. So the top is just the idea. The top and bottom are just direct mirrors of each other. So in the top one, blue sort of initiates their cut by slashing horizontally and under, and red initiates their cut by busting deep. And at this point, this thrower has a latitude to throw wherever they want. They can throw under to blue, who's slashing. They can throw deep to red, who's cutting deep. It's sort of two dangerous cuts to two different places, so they're not going to be in each other's way. And then the second action, assuming that this first throw gets looked off, is basically the exact opposite. So now blue, who was previously under, is going to streak up deep, and red, who was previously deep, is going to streak under. So now basically what we've generated is two scenarios where we've vacated space for each other. Blue is under the impression that there's help defense since they saw the red player go, and red is sort of under the assumption, or the red defender, excuse me, is under the assumption that there was someone in this area, because there was when the red defender cut deep. So that's the diamond play. Any one of these throws is valid. Throw to the blue slashing, throw to the red deep, throw to the red under, either one. And this diamond play, it doesn't really matter what side we started on, but we should probably talk on the line. So this is the exact mirror of the play up top. So basically, instead of red starting by cutting deep, we have blue starting by cutting deep, and red starting by cutting with the slash and cut, and then vice versa, the same thing. If that gets looked off, then blue is cutting back under hard, and red is cutting deep. This is a particularly neat look because the red defender will not expect a breakside huck to go off, sort of like, if we threw it to blue, sort of like that. The red defender's not going to expect that throw to go up. So if we can get sort of like a good breakside throw with a stall zero breakside huck, that can be really good. And then lastly, this is Cape Cod. I did a little bit of an addition from when I was talking to PY and Ellie and Q about it, but maybe this works, maybe not. Y'all can talk about it at practice. So basically, the first action that is happening is the break side handler, or in this case, the left side handler, is streaking kind of upline to do sort of an upline cut. That's viable. If it's open, feel free to hit it, and we can play our offense off that. But really, it's kind of doing the same thing that Fury clip did, which is make a lot of space for red to attack. So red's going to try to attack that space, and the person with the disc is just going to try and throw a break throw to red. Assuming that the person with the disc can't get a breakthrough off to red, or red is guarded or something, then the next opportunity is for the other handler to sort of do a scrape cut behind the player with the disc. This is sort of like the wheel that was discussed in Slack last week a little bit. And where I diverged from the conversation with Q and Ellie, and we can talk about it, and NPY, and we can talk about it in Slack, is I'm not, I'm not sure that the red player can be the option after this scrape cut. I think that they're going to be sort of already in this dangerous space, and I think it's best if they sort of vacate it and let somebody else attack. So what I would propose is that, assuming that the original red cut gets looked off, right? It gets pump faked, it gets looked off, and we initiate this scrape cut. I would propose that the red would vacate this space as hard as they can. The scrape cut comes up, and now the pink cutter is now filling over here. So we call that Cape Cod. So those are kind of the horizontal initiation plays. So A or D sweep, diamond, and this Cape Cod look. For side stack initiation plays, side stack looks like this. Generally, it doesn't really matter what side they're forcing. Initiation plays work just fine because, if you recall correctly, the mark isn't real for good throwers, and we're all good throwers. So in side stack, like the most basic side stack play is just an isolation play. So in this case, we're running it. Let me change this to pink because I messed up. In this case, we're running it from just the front of the stack, where this pink person kind of goes out and gets to use all this space and do whatever they want to do. What I think is really great about this type of setup is that the pink person can read all of the defenders and get an idea of what they want to do. So I've split into two different possible scenarios here. That's what I'm doing when I go kind of vertical like this. If the pink player is making a cut and they see that the green defender here, the defender up here at the top of the stack is not budging, they're not kind of moving to help, then they can continue their isolation and cut kind of however they see fit. They can cut back under if they have the leverage, however it works, whatever. But I think that if the pink player is cutting deep and they happen to see that the last player off the back of the stack is really worried about them, or is trying to poach off, I think that they should just be very happy that they have pulled the attention of two defenders and continue to try to be a magnet and go deep, and allow sort of the back of the stack to fill. So it starts as an ISO play, and then they can sort of read the defense accordingly. And then the flood, which the first two frames look identical to the ISO play, basically. I'd like it to be the front, but you guys can set it up however you want, comes out of the front of the stack and starts sort of streaking deep to try and generate some separation. But as that player is sort of streaking deep, the other three players, the three players that are remaining in the stack that are not in the back, immediately all at once start streaking across the field to make space for the back of the stack to fill. In this instance, if we're running the flood play, pink doesn't really have the option to turn around and come back under. Pink is just going to continue busting deep, and hopefully we get the disc to red, and pink will be in a prime position to be our continuation. So that's what the flood looks like. So those are sort of our two side stack plays right now, just a basic ISO and a flood. The cool thing about this is that they both look identical for the first like 2 or 3 frames. And then subvert stack initiation. This can be sort of on a pull play. This can be after a turnover. Doesn't really matter. We can do zippers from all over the place, but I'm just showing a quick rear zipper. So the rear zipper, the 2 action would be the back of the stack and the second from the back. The back of the stack can go to the break side, and the second from the back can go open side. That can depend. You can just tell the back of the stack to go and the second from the back to mirror it. But basically, they're trying to go at the same time so that they can be an option for both players. Hopefully, a throw goes up to one of them. Hopefully, one of them is open. So in the top, we're assuming that the throw went up to the open side under cutter. They were really fast. They beat their person, however it worked. And as soon as the red player recognizes that the throw is going up to the open side under, they can turn around and bust deep and be like a really, really fabulous continuation out in isolation. In order for that to work, these 3 players sort of need to realize that this is a 2-person game for now, and they need to kind of be patient. Vice versa, if the disc were to get thrown to the open side, it's the exact same thing, the same mirror. You end up with the player, or excuse me, if the disc gets thrown to the break side, same thing. You end up with the player who was coming under on the open side. As soon as they see that disc go up, they stop turn as fast as they can in a nice, 90 or 180-degree cut and start busting deep. And this can be particularly devastating because a lot of times if the force is forehand here, the mark won't quite be there in time, and we can throw sort of whatever break throw we want to for the score. As I mentioned in sort of that diamond initiation, a lot of defenders won't realize that it's a good option, or that we as a team will have the ability to throw here in just like one or two throws. So that is a rear zipper. There's tons of zippers we can run, but this is all we're talking about now. And then this, every time I've ever played on, this has a different name. So I think we should have some sort of fun naming competition. Hopefully someone wins. But the basic gist is the action starts from the front of the stack. They're going to bust out the break side and bust as deep as hard as they can. As they're like starting to cross the stack, the player in the back needs to start being ready to start cutting under. And it's the thrower's job to look at the defender who is defending this red. Let me turn them pink in this frame because they're pink in the next frames. So basically, if the defender who is defending this red player is like, really tight on the red, and then we might have an opportunity for a good shot to blue, who is coming out of the front of the stack. If the defender is poaching off of the red player to like help, because this is a really dangerous cut. This cut's like really, really hard to guard, I think. And I think a lot of teams rely on having help on this cut. So if they end up using that help, and the defender that is guarding the red player in the back of the stack peels off, then it's the thrower's job to just kind of, this is the cue, this is the person you're keeping an eye on, and if they peel, then you just throw kind of to a free open side under. I think that defenses are most vulnerable when they're switching a lot, so you'll notice a lot of these plays tend to sort of focus on switching. And then, believe it or not, the inverse of this can kind of work exceptionally well, where instead of going up the break side, you sort of just go up the open side. I don't know. I find that it's kind of hard for this back player to not take you. But it's something that we can try, see kind of theory craft what it looks like. This is a really good way to try to attack the break side with the back of the stack. So basically you go out to the open side in isolation and you bust deep, and you kind of hope that this pink defender helps off and you can get a free open side under. If the pink defender doesn't come off and you don't get a free open side under, I think you're probably just looking at sort of like a reset opportunity. I'm going to theory craft right here on the video, as a matter of fact, because that seems fun. Perhaps what we could look at in this situation is red is clearing to the stack as hard as they can, and purple, the defender of red, is sort of following and trying to play good quality defense on red. And all the while, blue is continuing their deep cut here. 1 second, Kristen. Blue has been continuing their deep cut here, and then maybe we do a scrape. I'm going to turn them to teal. And maybe they're going over here for a little scrape cut. Let me make my arrows. Sorry for theory crafting on the video. This is not what I'm supposed to do. And the disc is going there, and then they can hit the blue person for a big under maybe. That feels like a pretty good continuation to me. These guys are all set up here now, and we can do a big hit here. I don't know. There's a bunch of different things we can do off of it. I think that we should start with the actions and then maybe try to get a feel for what the best continuations are for some of these looks. But yeah, I'll share this spreadsheet or this whiteboard with y'all and look forward to talking about it in Slack.